All right. Hi, Adriana. How are
Hello,
things?
Karen.
Where are you coming to us from?
I am right now in Vancouver, Canada.
What's it like there? Still warm?
No, it's raining now. It's very fall weather, raining, cold, gray.
Yikes. Well, I don't have much better to promise you in Chicago. I used to live in Chicago, and November could go either way. It could still be fall and kind of be nice, or it could be very, very cold. So hopefully you'll get the kind of Chicago weather where you can walk down Lake Michigan and it'll still be nice. But if not, we'll just stay inside.
Yes. No,
I'm
we'll
really
have plan B. Plan B.
I'm really excited you're coming to ACTFL.
I'm happy to.
When's the last time you were at a conference in the United States?
Before COVID.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it's for everybody. Yeah.
Going in person is very expensive, and flying from Canada everywhere is like tripled or more. So
Yeah.
it's a luxury to go to a conference.
Yeah. You have a session you're presenting at ACTFL too, right?
Yes, Margarita Perez Garcia and I are presenting together one session. Yes.
Great. I'm going to go share this over on the other page just in case anybody's missed us before we start. But I'm so excited about this. We've got 9 authors who are coming with us to ACTFL, and that's not even all of them, because there are several others that are just going to be there for let's see right there. That should do it. That are going to be there for other reasons and doing other presentations, but hopefully we'll get a big group picture.
That would be nice. I am very excited. I'm going to meet people that I have been talking to and having a strong relationship with for years now online, and I'm gonna hug them for the first time. That's gonna be amazing.
You know, I kind of forget who I met in person and who I've only met online, since it's been so long, until I meet them in person and they're either taller or shorter than I thought they were. And I see them for the first time and go, oh, I guess we haven't met. I didn't know.
I know. I have very strong friendships that are purely, strictly online.
Yeah.
And I'm going to meet some of those people in November in person. Can't wait.
And friendships that have grown a lot. Like,
yes.
Even I knew them before, but really most of our friendship has grown on during all this online time. All right, so I wrote a blog a while back about the difference between a classroom novel and a novel that you would teach. Sorry, a novel that you would teach to a class and a novel that you would put on your classroom library. And just say, lots of people might like this, not everybody would, but it's a variety, and some that are like really good for teaching like the background information. And it seems like most of yours are really better for class novels. And so you've picked 2 to talk about today. And if you are watching this and you are a French teacher or you are not teaching these particular books, I still think you're going to get a lot out of this, because Adriana has kind of a system for how she presents information that she's going to tell us about. So I'm going to be quiet and let you talk, and however you want to do that. And I'm going to, in the chat, I'll put if there's any questions that come up.
Are we live on the page already?
We are live. We are
live. Do we have people watching?
I think we do, and I just posted it over to the IFLT page also, IFLT and TPRS CI teaching page. If you are watching this right now, you'll be able to follow it and comment, and we'll see your comments if you go to the command performance page, because that's where we're actually broadcasting from. But you can watch it from anywhere. And if you're just joining us, I'm here with Adriana Ramírez, who is going to talk to us about teaching a class novel using 2 of her novels. And if you have questions and you're on the command performance page, just go ahead and put those questions in there, and I'll send them to Adriana so she catches them. All right.
I'm trying to find the live just to see us, but I haven't found it. Okay.
It's on the command performance page, not the group, the command performance.
Yes, I am there now.
Great. Okay, so
Well,
I'm going to turn my video off so it's just you on the screen, but because I know you have some things to say, and I'll pop in and ask questions at the end.
okay.
Okay.
So I would love if people are here watching, if you can ask questions, type them. I found the video now, type them on the chat, and then I will try to answer them. We're going to be together for 30 minutes. And like Karen said, when you're going to work on free voluntary reading, you need to have as many books as you can. You need to have all the books, all the levels, because you don't know what your students want. So all the books should be there, every level, every title, every theme. So that's one thing. When the students read in free voluntary reading, they should read easy books, books that feel easy to them because they're reading independently. So they need to read, they need to enjoy the reading and really understand what's going on. When you read a novel as a class, the level can be a bit more harder, a little bit more, not like a harder novel, but it can be a little bit harder because you as a teacher, you're scaffolding the process of understanding the chapter, the language, the concepts, everything that is going on. You are there with them, holding their hands and taking them step by step to understand this novel and to understand the story and to be able to read in Spanish. So my novels are great for that because they're very cultural and allow the teachers not only read the novel as a class, but expand that novel, that knowledge that the novel is bringing to them through the story. All the novels are written from a social justice point of view. So you're not only reading to the novel and the story, but you can use that story to get through a social justice issue and expand and learn more about it. So today I want to talk about two, but this idea and this concept applies for any novel that you do. I want to talk about two novels that are very special to my heart. María Cano, La Flor del Trabajo, and Guaytipan, La Líder Guerrera. Both novels are part of the collection Revolucionarias, which is a collection that Margarita Perez Garcia, my dear friend, and I created. And the third book in the collection is coming out right now. I think it's out now, or it's going to be out pretty soon, which is written by Margarita. So we write books for the collection, and it's about revolutionary women in Latin American history. You know, history has been written mainly by men. And although we women have been there, of course, doing everything, doing the work, and being part of history, our voices and our stories have not been written and have not been heard. So that's the purpose of this collection, bringing those voices, bringing those stories to the forefront. How or what are things that you can do when you teach these novels? How do I teach them? Of course, we only have 30 minutes and I'm not going to cover everything that I do with my classes here. I don't have the time to do it here, but in a quick way, I'm going to try to share with you a framework that you can follow. The first thing that you need to know is that you're using the novel as an entrance way to the culture. So the novel, the story, once you open the book, you're opening a door and you're entering to that culture with your students. You are the tour guide, you're holding their hands, and you are going into this adventure through this culture. That is why I always say we're learning from and not learning about. So when you're reading a book, because you want your students to learn Mexican culture, you want to learn from Mexico, not about Mexico. You want to learn from Colombia, not about Colombia. And here is where the author matters. Who is writing those stories that you're reading in your classes? So you're opening, for example, I'm going to start with Guaytipan or María Cano. I love both of them. You're opening this door and then the adventure starts. So how are you going to prepare your students so they are successful in the reading of this book? The first thing that you need to know is start preloading words with TPR. TPR stands for total physical response, and those are the action verbs. So what I do is that I read each chapter, of course, before I'm going to read it with my students, and I get the words outside, like in a list, and I have the list for me. And then before we read each chapter, we're going to move and do some TPR. So I am preloading those words. They're moving with them. They're getting familiarized with those words. So when they encounter the words in the chapter, they know what's going on. Are they going to acquire the words yet? No. They're just getting familiarized with the words. So that is one thing that you can do to pre-teach, preload those words. Personalized questions, which is something that is also part of providing comprehensible input to our students. Personalized questions related to topics of the story, topics of the chapters, using words from the chapter. So you would have to write the questions, prepare them. I like preparing everything. It gives me peace of mind. Also having like pictures to help you, like project pictures on a PowerPoint to help you convey messages for certain words that are going to be encountered there. So you have the movement, the questions, and the pictures. And with those three elements, you can navigate the reading of the book and help your students be successful. I like reading aloud. I read aloud. Everyone has a copy of the book. We open the chapter and I read aloud and they follow. We're reading, we stop. I ask personalized questions. We have a discussion. Maybe we translate a couple of things. We keep reading. I stop. I like this reading time, me reading to them and them following in their own books, because I am pausing, stopping, and making sure they are understanding when we are reading. When they are doing free voluntary reading, they're reading on their own. When we're doing extended readings or reading other kind of things in the class, they're reading on their own, but this reading is with me. We are doing this together. We're walking this path together. These books from the Revolucionaria collection are really good because at the end of the book, you have a section called Preguntas para Pensar. So those, let me find it here. So those preguntas para pensar are the questions to think, are the questions that we have them here, preguntas para pensar. María Cano also has a section of preguntas para pensar. Preguntas para pensar. So these questions are the ones that are going to help you connect the story to social justice issues. Thinking about different parts of the stories, both of them, that you can bring to nowadays, make it current, and look at them through a social justice lens. Like, for example, in Guaytipan is the use of names and how when the colonizers arrived to our lands, they changed the names. Everything had a name already, and they changed the names as a way of erasing the people and the culture. When you change the name and you ignore the original and the traditional names, you're erasing everything. You're erasing the language, the culture, and the people. So the names, the importance of names, the importance of respecting names. This one also talks, it has a lot of questions related to feminism, gender stereotypes, and imperialism. When I read this with my students, the gender stereotypes and feminism is very strong in this book. So I pull from the story and then we start talking, I bring it to like nowadays, current situations. What are gender stereotypes? What are things that are expected from women in society? What are things that are expected from men in society? How can we fight that? How do gender stereotypes affect each other? So those are conversations that I can have with my students inspired by the story and throughout the reading of the story. So this gets really, really deep, and I love it. I love having these conversations in class. The students get very excited because those are things that they are living, and it's related to what is happening in the world right now. These books are level 3 up, so I read them with my level 3 students. And something that allows us to have those conversations, and that's something that you need to keep in mind, is please, please, please allow translanguaging. Translanguaging is the students can speak in my case, I am speaking in Spanish. I'm providing comprehensible input in Spanish. I am in the target language all the time, but translanguaging means that they can speak in Spanish if they can. And of course, I encourage Spanish, Spanglish, or English. And think about this, like the students that are speaking in English, they are understanding everything that I am saying in Spanish. They are understanding what we're reading in Spanish, the discussion that is happening. So that's perfect. We're learning, they're acquiring language, but the conversation, it's deep. And for them to be able to share their ideas and be part of that group and that conversation, they might need to use their English or Spanglish or Spanish if they can. So with that combination, we have really, really deep conversations in class. It becomes a really good opportunity to read, learn from the culture, and bring it to connections of things that are happening in our world. Okay, so I want to check, no questions yet. So I'm going to keep talking. When we are reading a book, Karen, I see that you're coming.
There is one question.
Oh, I don't see it. Tell me.
It is from our friend John Seifert. And he asks, how long do you spend on pre-reading activities before you start the novel?
Great question, John. Thank you for asking. So I start, the only technical like pre-reading activity would be the TPR, and I might start TPR a week before I start the novel, like preloading those verbs. They don't even know I am going to read a novel. I just start preloading them. Now, I don't preload all the verbs. I do some, maybe for the first 2 or 3 chapters. And then I make sure before we read a chapter, we have done some movement, some TPR with those verbs. So that is before we start reading. The personalized questions sometimes happen before or during or after a chapter. I like changing things. And then the pictures happen sometimes. I show the pictures and we do some quick translations, and I do some quick personalized questions related to the pictures before we read the chapter. Remember, the pictures are of words or concepts that are going to be encountered in the book, and it's just to help them understanding that chapter better. And sometimes they happen before, during we're reading, I stop, I show them, we talk, or after we finish the chapter and I show pictures, and then we kind of review what we read. So like I said, TPR would be like the main thing to do before. So that's it. That's your question, John. Thank you. The other thing that I wanted to say is that remember that I said you open the book and you're entering this culture. The book is leading you to know from this culture and this story. So it is also a great opportunity to learn about a singer from that place, to honor the place, the city, the country, the culture, and have music accompanying you throughout the reading of the book. I usually take 2 to 3 weeks reading a novel, and I see my students every day, but we don't only read a novel. So if the novel like this one that has a very strong gender stereotypes and feminism lens, we are going to talk and learn about feminism and gender stereotypes. So we're going to use the novel to expand our knowledge on this thing. So that's why it takes 3 weeks. When I read this novel, I usually have two songs going with us throughout the reading. One would be trying to honor a singer from the place where the novel takes place. She's from Colombia, from Medellin. And I also have a song that is a very feminist song there are different ones that I've used in the past. Silvana Estrada. Silvana Estrada is from Mexico. So remember, I have one singer that is from Colombia to honor the country, but Silvana Estrada, she has a beautiful song called Si Me Matan. And the topic of the song is feminicidios, which is that perpetuation of gender stereotypes. And it's so powerful, so powerful. So we listen to both songs every day. There are different times in the class that we listen to the songs. Songs also are a great brain break. You just play the song, the students listen, sing. So we have a song that goes along with the theme of the novel, and we have a song that honors the country, the culture where the novel takes place. So that's another thing that I like doing. So we are expanding the feeling of the culture. We're not only learning from it, reading a story from the culture, but feeling it through music, through food, through images, through video. So I want to have this whole experience as much as I can. Do we have more questions, Karen? No more questions?
Sorry, only mine.
Okay.
Can you tell us how you teach the music? Do you backward plan that and teach the lyrics too, or you just let it play?
Okay, thank you. Great question. So I present the singer, and I have a PowerPoint in which I present the singer with a map. We learn a little bit about the singer, about the life of the singer. And then after that, which happens the first day, because remember the songs, that music is going to be with us throughout the reading of the novel. So after I present the singer, which also I want them to really get to know this person. If they like the music that we're playing in class, they're going to follow the person on Spotify and everything. And then I give them the lyrics, we translate the lyrics, and that's it. And then I play the song every day. And then they end up singing it, because after 2 or 3 weeks of listening to the same song, it's impossible not to learn it and sing it. So everyone acquires the song, and the song becomes comprehensible input. It's not just a song for the sake of listening to music. It's a song that becomes input, comprehensible input for the students, because we translated the song. They're learning language, they're acquiring language from that song. I can see chunks of language, words, sentences that they have acquired from the song when they are writing, when they are talking. They use things that I know they learned from the songs. So that's why it's very important. And you introduce the singer, and you give lyrics, translate lyrics, and then play the song every day. You don't have to do anything fancy with the song. I don't do anything else. You could if you want. I just don't have time because I do so many other things. So I have to choose the things that I am going to do. I like, when I listen to music in my classes, I like listening to music for that purpose of acquiring language from the music, from the song. So that's why I use the same song for a chunk of time. So going back to this book, in the back I said preguntas para pensar, preguntas para hacer conexiones. We also have a section about nicknames. So we reflect on nicknames, the importance of nicknames. When is it right to have a nickname? When is not right to have a nickname? We also talk about, at the end, virtual platforms. When you have a platform, when you have a voice, how do you use your voice to make the world a better chance, a better place? Because María Cano had a platform, and she used her voice to make the world a better place for women and for workers. So I want to bring that now. That was her life. That's why she was a revolucionaria. I want to bring that now. And that's the personal connection that I want the students to make. So this woman had a voice, she had a platform, and she used it, and she worked hard to make the world a better place. How does this look like right now? Who do we know, big famous people that have a platform? Do they use the platform to cause change in the world or not? How can we cause change in the world? How can we make the world a better place? So all these books, and in general, all my books, have this social justice component that will allow you to go into these conversations and go deeper. Students always, there is no doubt they will be engaged with these conversations because they are very pertinent to them, to what is happening. You personalize it, and they have a lot of things to say. And when you're doing all these kind of conversations, it becomes a subject shelter matter. I'm saying it backwards. I always mix it up, the words. Because I'm not teaching Spanish. I stop at this point, I stop teaching Spanish. I teach in Spanish. And the Spanish that I give them is slow, comprehensible, abundant, compelling, interesting. Everyone is hooked. Everyone is involved. So it becomes a space that is like immersion, but with comprehensible input. They forget they're learning Spanish. They're just immersed in learning about this woman and having all the cool conversations that we have. At the end of the cycle, a lot of people ask me about assessment. At the end of the cycle, I do the assessment. The beauty of this is that you really the students don't have to study for anything. And I tell them, don't, just come pay attention, have fun with me, that's it. Over-assessing doesn't translate into language acquisition. So you don't have to assess throughout the process. Just let them enjoy the process of reading this book and all the things that you're bringing along with the book. And at the end, you have an assessment. And it's impossible. It's impossible. Trust me. No one has failed an assessment from a class novel. No one. The only way to fail it is that you were absent. So of course you missed all the reading and all the conversations. And then at the end, you have the assessment. The assessment might be different depending on your classes, your level, what you want to do. I like having an oral assessment and a written assessment. I like giving them options when they write. Usually for the oral part, we do a lot of intercultural assessments, and it's very, very hard to fail. They have acquired so much language and they are so passionate about the topic that they can share with the class what they've learned, and they can share and make connections from their own lives and their own cultures and the book to the class. So with that, I think I finished, unless I have questions.
Your questions were the ones you just answered. Their questions were about the assessment. So this is great. So a couple of things. You do some kind of Google walking tours, kind of give an overview of geography. Do you do that with every book? Where you
if I can't do it with every book, I do. Some books allow it better than other ones. Some books don't. So it depends on the book. When I am reading, for example, Es Posible Soñar, which is another of my books, I do a Google walk. Like I have to do a Google walk, and we walk through the streets because the book happens on a specific place. With books like this one that happened 100 years ago, this is stories like from 100 years ago, I don't do a Google walk because the places have changed so much that it doesn't make sense. I do a map talk just to center them, like where the country is, where the city is, like a geographical location for them, but not the Google walk. So it depends on the book that I am reading with them.
Okay. And Guatipan, do you do anything different with that?
Guaitipan is like, it's a very, not Google Walk, Map Talk. It's a very decolonizing book. So we talk a lot about, we flips history. This book flips history because it's from the voice of the oppressed. So we talk about names. So Google Walk, no. Map Talk. And then we talk about the global north and the global south. We talk about names, how cultures were not erased because they didn't erase the cultures, but attempt to erase them by changing names and changing the way people related with God and the way people related with nature, trying to erase that. So we have these more decolonizing conversations that in Canada, people like having this, like this is what we talk about. Because as a country, we are working, and in a public school system, we're really working on the process of truth and reconciliation. So this is like a country-wide topic. No, we're not afraid of having these conversations. The kids are not afraid. They want to have these conversations. So we do talk about that. And because I am very lucky to have so many students from different countries when we talk about colonization, and I have students from India, for example, then interculturality comes and they share with us how you experience colonization from the British. What is your experience? How do you feel it now? What does it look like? And they teach us because we don't know. And same people from Pakistan. Like, so we have all these deep conversations, and what can we do to decolonize ourselves, decolonize what we do, our curriculum, our stories. Based in one of those conversations, students that graduated last year, they wrote, one is from Palestine and the other one is from India, and they both wrote a story together as a graduation project in Spanish. I helped them, in which they embedded their cultures and the history of colonization. It was so powerful. So it was a healing way for them to share that trauma that we share as people that were colonized. So anyways, it's so deep, it's so fantastic. I love having these conversations with the students.
Are you able to have these conversations with lower level classes? Like, do you teach any of this to level 1, level 2? I know you have some books that are at that level and that maybe some people are teaching. Do you bring any of that in, or do you really just save it for the books that are targeted on that?
Great question. It goes in steps. It goes in steps because my level 1 are grade 9s. And these books, I read them with my grade 11s. So they are more mature people. They're more ready to have these conversations. Now you have to start in grade 9. How do you start? You start using non-binary language. You start normalizing non-binary language. That's the colonization as well. You start including different types of families when you're doing a storytelling. That is the colonization as well. So when you're doing storytelling, the boy has 2 moms or 2 dads. That's the colonization. So you start setting up the foundations with the language that you teach and that you use in your daily stories. When we have this Friday in Canada is Orange Shirt Day, that is to honor the kids that were murdered and abused in residential schools. So I have the whole Spanish classes from level 1 to IB. We will do Orange Shirt Day learning. So I have embedded readings. We learn about it at different levels. So yes, you start setting up the foundations at the beginning, go a little bit deeper. In grade 10, for example, Me Perdí en Medellín, which is a good book to finish your second year, you are starting to introduce more interculturality. So they learn from this culture, and then make comparison with their cultures, and then we share and learn from each other. So we are really connecting and building the fabric of the class. So when we get to the third and the fourth level, we are ready to dive deep into these other conversations because we have built the foundations.
Right. I think that's a really important point, is that you can't start in level 3 reading for the first time. That you really need to build all that up a little bit at a time. So the earlier they start reading, the better. Yeah. I also always taught a class novel before I did free voluntary reading with my beginners. How far into the year do you start any kind of reading in your level, like level 1, level 2 classes?
Well, the way I teach with the stories, I do extended readings, which is reading. It's reading stories, just that I am reading with them. Week 1, we are doing like long reading from week 1. So I walk with them, read. Then we do a couple novels as a class. I do a couple Mosca novels in level 1. And then we go more into the free voluntary reading in level 2. I am reading with them. I am showing them that they can read in Spanish. They can read independently. We do a couple novels as a class. And then in level 2, they're ready to go.
I added a couple of links in here. I think you do a really good job on that YouTube channel of showing how you do that. And so I just added that link in the comments underneath the live stream. And then you also do the student books, the storytelling student books. So yeah, that's kind of one of the answers to the question, well, what you do before reading. So I put that link in there.
Yeah. So I loved the question that that you ask about if I start doing that in the lower levels. We have to, but it looks different. It's not the same kind of conversation, but we have to. When you are having female characters, you can start working on feminism, depending on the adjectives that you use to describe that female character that is going to be part of your story. Same with the male characters. Like you can have the husband and the wife, let's say, and then the wife is the one that goes to work. The husband stays at home taking care of the baby. And that's the story that you end up creating with your kids. And that's the colonization. So you're setting up the good foundations for those deeper conversations you're going to have later.
Yeah, really important. I'm glad you're mentioning all of these things. I added the link to all of your books, and I'm going to finish up by asking 2 questions. What is your favorite book of yours?
No. Then
I have the same problem with your books. My favorite book is usually the last one I read. It replaces the one, because I read another one, I'm like, oh, I like this one even better. Oh, but I really loved that one.
Oh, okay. I mean, I love my stories. Every story has a piece of me. Every story has a little bit of me, my heart, my brain. I really love them all, honestly. I would say La Marimba de mi abuelo is the most important one for me as a person, because it was a way to reconnecting with my roots and honoring my grandpa. So it was like a spiritual journey, that one. And when I gave it to my uncles in Colombia and my aunt read it and everything, it was a special family, I don't know, energy thing. I don't know how to describe it. So in that sense, that one was very spiritual and I love it. But as a story, I love them all.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I think when I start writing, I go into this, in Spanish, we call it trance. I don't know what is in English, but I am like, I become the character and then I start writing. And then I read the books again and I'm like, wow, this is cool.
All right. So, and this one's the hard question, and we'll end with this one. Because I don't want you to feel like I'm putting you on the spot, instead of asking you your favorite book, just what is one that you've read recently that you liked by another CI author?
Okay, so I love Margarita's books. I love her books. The last one that I read was her Revolucionaria that is going to come. I think it's out now. I don't know. I think it's out.
Not quite. We don't have
Juana
it yet.
Avanzadora. So
You're right at the end. Juana.
Juana. So that one is
Any
the
day
one
now.
that I read, and I love her, and I respect her, how she writes, and admire how she writes. So I really enjoy reading her books, and my kids really enjoy reading her books. I also like Veronica's books, and I enjoy reading them, and my kids like Veronica's books too, Veronica Moscoso. Of course, Diego's poems, he brings the poems that we don't have in the CI world. So I always like telling my students, like, now we are going to read poetry. And so I appreciate all these voices that give me all these stories, and I enjoy them all in different ways. And I know my students enjoy them all in different ways too.
I have just read Juana, and I feel the same way. I'm really excited for that one to come out. That was a good first choice. All right, thank you for coming, and I'm so excited that we're going to see you at ACTFL, that you're presenting, and that actually I think you're presenting twice, because you're presenting I think a session on teaching class novels with several other authors and then in addition to the one with Margarita. And what's the one with Margarita?
It's about amplifying the voice of women in Latin American history. Yeah.
What a fun theme.
Yes,
this is great. It's about time we had more materials like this. It's been a long time coming.
Yes, I know. Well, thank you, Karen, for this time and for having me here. And thank you for the people that were here with us. And if you have questions, I mean, you can always put them on the Facebook group, and then we will help each other. Sometimes I am out of the group for days because I'm busy with school work, but when I have a minute, I reconnect. And that's it.
We also have more of these coming up with Teresa Jensen and AC Quintero and me, and I think we may have some other people popping in to do some short ones before we get to ACTFL. These are all the authors who are going to ACTFL with us, and then when we get there, we're going to do more, because Margarita said she would do one. The time's upside down, so when we try to do a live stream, she's sleeping. So we're going to do them live from ACTFL with the other authors. So everyone will get to hear from everyone, and hopefully we'll see you all in Chicago.
Perfect.
Thank you, Adriana.
Thank you. Bye.